you're on the meeting. Come on up. You're welcome. Pull that down. There you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you so much. All right, I'll give everybody a good time for a moment in silence. All right, good evening. I'm happy to see people coming in this evening. There's room spots on the other side of the like the south alleyway. First up on our agenda is our superintendent announcement. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Rubio.
Good evening, Matador Nation. It has been an eventful 3 weeks since we have returned from Christmas break, and I know that for many of our staff members it feels like it's been an eternity. As our community is aware, each day continues to be a challenge in our schools, especially when it comes to staffing. Our teachers and campus staff have been spread thin, yet they found ways to serve our students and keep our schools open. We are slowly seeing reductions in our COVID numbers, which will help us with staffing. I am profoundly appreciative of our campus staff for their service and their dedication. January is School Board Recognition Month, and I want to take this opportunity to personally thank Cindy Thomas Jimenez, Carl Jenkins, Linda Moreno, Alejandro Guerra, Linda Duncan, Denise Crittenden, and Ben Amador for their leadership and service. As trustees, these individuals dedicate countless hours in meetings, workshops, trainings, extracurricular campus and community events while serving as advocates for the students and staff of our district. The theme for this year's School Board Recognition Month is Rising Above. Based upon your support for our students, you are indeed creating opportunities for our children to rise above and succeed as students and citizens. On behalf of Seguin ISD, please know that we appreciate all that you do for our school district. Thank you all. Stay safe and healthy, and remember, it's a great day to be a Matador.
Thank you, Dr. Rubio. Next up are board member reports. I have to say that I believe not any of us have been on campus this last month. So
I think it's go to UIL.
okay, we'll go down the road. Ms. Ramadan, anything to report? Oh, great, that's great news. Thank you. And when is usually next week? I do want to give thanks to all of our staff, teachers, parents, students. This has been a really difficult last few weeks, and we really appreciate all the effort that y'all are putting into giving our kids the best possible education. Mr. Davis? Moving on, we're going to go to our recognition item, and we're going to start off with the campus highlight, and then turn it back over to Ms. Rivera to introduce the campus.
This evening, we're rather proud to learn about programs and initiatives in our school. Let's welcome MBLC and Lakers and Jay Lewis Law, who is here to share a presentation about how he and the staff are changing the trajectory of the students.
Don't mind if I pull in that. Good afternoon, Dr. Gutierrez and members of the board. It's my pleasure this afternoon to talk to you all about how we're going to change the trajectory of our students. So just how to click it. All right. So at MBLC, our mission and vision. Our mission is we are innovative, caring, rigorous today and for the future. We are creating believers, building futures, and exceptional graduates. We also have some positive statements that we work on every day, and that's making every day count, believe in yourself, let others help, and care for one another. So at MBLC, what we've decided over the last few years is foundation is not good enough. You have to be better. And so in 1920 school year, we had 63 graduates. But of those 63 graduates, 54 of them were foundation, aka 22 credits. 9 were distinguished, which means only 14% of our students graduated with endorsements. Fast forward to last year, we had 74 graduates. 22 of those were foundation, 16 had endorsements, 36 were distinguished, which 52 had endorsement graduates, which means we went up to 70%. This year, currently, we've had 16 graduates, 15 of them were distinguished. So we're really trying to work on getting that. At this point, what we're looking at is we should have, I went through the records, we should be at about 90% endorsement graduates, and most of those will be distinguished. Well, under the endorsements, we only have one pathway to MBLC, and we have the multidisciplinary pathway, which is the old 4x4. And so we get that by having them do the 4 math, 4 sciences, 4 history, and 4 English. And so we use the multidisciplinary pathway. The distinguished, which makes that different is if you have the endorsement plus Algebra 2, you can become distinguished. And so what we've had to do is push the Algebra 2. And that's how we've been able to do it. So we've been working with the kids to get them to the 4x4, but then we push the Algebra 2, which is also adding the distinguished. So most of our students come to us with approximately 11 credits. So this current school year that we have the kids enlisted with us, we have 31 students that came to us with less than 10 credits. We have 31 students that came between 10 and a half and 15 credits. 13 had greater than 15 credits. Our lowest student entered with us with 1 credit, and our highest student entered with 20. And so most of them are in the 4th year of high school when they come. So what we do in order to increase the graduates is we've had to go to a modified block scheduling. And so what we use is a modified block with the stack classes. And so each kid takes, basically, they're using a 3-period day. They're doubled in every class that they take for the most part. And so what that is, we took English 3 and we paired it with creative writing. We took English 4 and we paired it with college transition. We took math, models, and statistics, environmental science, and aquatic science. And then we also took U.S. history with government, and then economics with a personal financial literacy. What the teachers did was they went through and they looked at all the TEKs, took the TEKs of both courses, laid them out together, found out the stuff that was the same, and then we just stretched the courses a little bit, and now we're teaching 2 classes at the same time instead of 2 separate classes. Now they can do 2 classes in a little, just slightly longer time period than they were doing the single class. And so it's really helped get the kids for get those classes. Before, what was happening is we didn't have the electives to get there. We didn't have the courses, and so it was difficult for kids to get past 22 because it was hard to make them take the extra math. And now they're taking the extra math at the same time they're doing the other math. So what's happened with that, and by pushing the Algebra 2, we've been able to push that distinguished plan up, and it's already having people look at doing different things. And so with our Algebra 2 numbers, it's helping us push the TSI test more. And because they've had Algebra 2, they're going to be more likely to pass the TSI math, which they've had a lot of trouble with. So it helps us put that. And they're also looking more at school. And so like this year already, we have a Texas Tech, A&M Galveston, a Tulsa, and this morning I found out we have a Trinity and a TLU as well. So they're really, and one thing we're doing too, the staff is every day, what are you going to do next? What's your plan? What's your plan? You know, what school do you want to do to? We've been pushing FAFSA nights, we've been doing FAFSAs, we've been doing TSI testing, the general application. Gerard has been really pushing with the kids, and so it's different than before. What job are you gonna get? No, what career are you? And so that's what our focus is. It's relationships, relevance, and rigor. And so we partner with those kids to build that relationship. A lot of the kids come to us and they have lost their way. They just don't have any belief in themselves. And so we really, really work hard to help the kids to believe in themselves. Helping them believe in themselves, helping them push to get done what they need to get done, helps them move faster, helps them get done what they need. But then by also making them reach a goal, what else can they do? What more can you? It's not just a job. No, we don't want you to have a job. We want you to have a career. What can you do to push that? What can you do to do more? And so it's really amazing to see that change in some of the kids. Some of them are driven when they come, but a lot of them aren't. So it's really neat to see that change in the kids when they get there. You know, and I tell them every day, it's not my job to give you a diploma. It's my job to give you an education. You earn that. And so we really, really push the fact that they have to work hard. It's hard what they do, and they have to work hard to get there. And what else do we do? So also, we don't just push the standards. We also look at other things that we can do to help them for life. And so one of the classes that we started acquiring last year was personal financial literacy. And so what that one is, they get to learn a little bit more about their finances. And it was kind of funny when we were doing this one online. Mr. McCullough said he'd be teaching the class online, and parents were jumping on. You mean we can do that? And I think this morning one of the kids walked up to it and said, "Look, Mr. McCullough, it's a $4 latte, not a $5. I saved $1." And so, you know, they're really starting to think about how much money they're spending and how they look at it in different ways. And so next year we're going to be adding a class called General Employability. And in that we're going to talk about more employment skills and how to interview and different things to help them learn more about it. Because in MBLC, it's not just about getting them that diploma, it's about how can we give them life skills so they can be successful when they leave our building. And so all of our kids are taking, or most of our kids take college transition with English 4. And so we look at them looking at schools, we also look at careers. Because again, we want them to find a career. And then borrowing from Jimmy Casas, you know, we want to be a school of investment, not a school of compliance. So it's really important that we get an investment in our kids and that they invest in their own education and their own self. So one of the things we have to work on is getting them to come to school. Like everyone else, most of the attendance is just really bad right now. So we do a lot of different things. So we do things like Taco Tuesday, where I give them a taco. Or this morning I made them muffins and sausage, and then they get a free 100 with it as well. That's what the little girls are holding up in the bottom picture. And then we do an extended lunch also for our perfect attendance kids. We have an early release, so we give them a pizza and early release if they have perfect attendance for 4 weeks. You know, we work on Friday games during our last intersession in the fall. We started doing games mixed into the intersession. The kids really enjoyed it. So what we did was I took 5 minutes away from each class on Friday. We have an hour lunch. And I split the teachers' lunches, and now the kids and the teachers play games together on Fridays. Hopefully bring the kids in. It also gives the relationship piece of the thing. But the most important thing that we do is we work on having a relentlessly positive approach. We must stay positive with kids. We must push them to do more and keep going. So we also do things like no place for hate. We have the restorative practices. We do daily assembles every morning. I do our morning announcements together. We're already in the auditorium. So we get together every morning. We talk about our expectations for the day, and we leave with a cheer. So be positive every day and send them off in the right way. And then we have adopted school. Erin Hink and her mother adopted our program. That's the picture there with the cookies. And she had so much cookies and hot chocolate. I think we ate cookies and hot chocolate for 3 days. But it was one of. She also bought a nice Jimmy Casas goods for us to share. And so that's sort of. I started reading that before I realized that's who was coming to talk to us. So they were really good. So it's been really nice. And we also. Right before the test, I wanted to do something a little more positive. So the teachers and myself contacted all of our parents and we asked them to send their kids a message, either text message or email or Instagram post about, you know, hey, do good, you know, just something positive. And then what we did was we took them and we took pictures of the text messages they got and we posted them on the blogs. And so it was really neat. Some of the kids came up to us, "Oh, did you ask my dad to text you?" I got this weird text that said, "You're doing great." So it was kind of funny, but it worked well, and I want to do it again later on. This was a good way of getting a positive contact with the parent and also asking them to do that stuff out. You know, just remind them, hey, it's important to be positive with the kids. We did a Christmas Storytech grade content for the first time this year. We actually all participated. It was really fun. You have to look at Mr. Camacho's unstable classroom. Where it says, don't feed the reindeer, he's covering up the do not. So, but we had a really good time. It was a lot of fun. The kids enjoyed it. We're going to do another one here during this next month where the kids are going to actually pair up and be goers themselves. We also this year had the HBO filming. And so it was kind of an interesting thing. So we got a nice $7,000 donation from the HBO for them to film there. We also got our classroom remodeled. So they came in, repainted it, restored the chalkboards to light blue condition, and replaced the blinds in the classroom from the old white blinds to these really cool blinds that matched our it matched our classroom. So they let me keep them. So we actually kept the little red 70s red brick velour stuff on the bottom just for fun. So Mr. Camacho enjoys his new classroom. But it was kind of neat. So the set decorators are the guys in the bottom. They're the ones that decorated this stuff. And then they changed the name of our building for a while. And that's actually also they're off the security camera because they didn't want anybody taking pictures. So, but she did say hi to me when she walked by the hallway. So. But it was really neat. The pre-guys, the set decorators, the location scouts were really nice. The film crew, the set decorators and stuff, they were really, really nice people. And so it was interesting learning a little bit about them and sharing with the kids about how do you get into the industry because all of the people from the location scouts were from the Austin area. So they are actually local. And so a couple of my kids actually went to and were extras as well. So they went and got the costumes. So it was kind of neat. But most importantly, at MBLC we're a family. And I think it's every day about every student every day. And that's really what we focus on. We want to be positive with our kids. We want to push them to do more. And we just want to keep them going where they need to go. I was really proud of them on our December testing this year. We had a 75% passage rate. We outscored the state in every area except for algebra. And so we actually had one kid in U.S. history score 100%. So it was pretty good. So we were really happy with what the students and the teachers did to get them there. So, any questions?
Very, very expensive. So important to be the whole district is working towards that goal. If y'all are
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all for everything you do.
Okay, next up on our agenda are our student staff and board community recognition. So I'm going to turn this part of the meeting over to Dr. DeSales and Mr. Hoffman. And start off with the recognition.
This first recognition is of a junior at Seguin High School, Tatum Hill, has served as an outstanding ambassador for Seguin ISD, as a finalist in the 2021 National Local Competition for the Mariachi Vargas Extravaganza. This annual event takes place in San Antonio and celebrates the history and cultural impact of mariachi music. The Seguin ISD family is proud of Tatum for her extraordinary achievement, a second place finish in the national local competition. In addition to the honor and a trophy, she also received a prize of $750. Congratulations to you and your family, Tatum. Our next recognition is for our Seguin ISD Spanish Spelling Bee winners. Several Seguin ISD students have excelled in the 2021-2022 District Spanish Spelling Bee, and as a result of their success, have advanced to compete in the Regional Spanish Spelling Bee at Region 20. Our Seguin ISD Elementary School winners include, and if you will, please come up to the front to receive your recognition. First place, Leilani Mendiola, 5th grade at Kennedy Elementary. Alternate is Jimena Ariola, 3rd grader at Rodriguez Elementary. Our Seguin ISD secondary winners are first place, Mario Alvarez, 10th grade at Seguin High School. Alternate, Eileen Cortez, 12th grade at Seguin High School. Congratulations and best of luck at the Regional Spelling Bee. You have our full support.
Y'all ready for your photo? Ready to go on social media? Y'all smile when you're on. All right, I'm ready. Middle of the three. Let's finish this off.
Last year, we had one student that was able to advance, and so we're very proud of the fact that we have 4 students we are sending to Region 20. At this time, we're going to recognize the Superintendents, Students of the Month. Each month, our campus principals designate a deserving student that we honor during our regular school board meetings. I'm proud to say that 3 outstanding students are here with us tonight, and if you would please, when I call your name, if you would come forward with your family. Our first student is from McQueenie Elementary. Caroline Rubio is a 5th grade student at McQueenie, and her teacher is Haley Holder. As a new addition to the McQueenie family this year, Caroline has not missed a beat. Her kind, fun-loving spirit quickly shines through. She greets everyone with a smile and finds humor in the world around her. She is always kind to others and quick to lend a helping hand when necessary. Her inquisitive nature and love of learning are infectious. McQueenie Elementary and Seguin ISD are truly blessed to have Caroline as part of the Matador family. Her mother is Caroline Rubio. Congratulations, Caroline. Our next student comes to us from Breezy Meister Middle School. Amaya Demia is an 8th grade student at AJB. She is an A and B student, an athlete, and quite a role model who leads by example. Her positive attitude, resilience, and work ethic reflect the effort and growth mindset that is cultivated on the AJB campus. Her coaches describe her as a very determined athlete. Michelle Price, Amaya's 8th grade English teacher, says that Amaya is an example of kindness and hard work to all her peers. She always puts her energy into doing her best work and cares about her future. I see great things in store for her. Simply stated, Amaya makes AJB the place to be. Her parents are Trinidad and Tamitha Bermia. Congratulations, Amaya. Still remember Amaya when she was like this small at McQueenie, and she wrote a story about wanting to meet the superintendent. One of the first students I met coming into the district. Our next student comes to us from MBLC. Kristen Walker is a senior at MBLC. She has already completed 7.5 credits this school year and is on track to graduate early. Kristen has earned the Perfect Attendance Awards for the 2nd and 3rd 6 weeks. Additionally, she has been NBLC Student of the Month and also named a Star Student. Kristen has a great attitude and inspires her peers to focus on excellence in the classroom. Kristen's parents are Rachel and Jake Heltzel. Congratulations, Kristen. Always brings great joy to present those awards as well as the upcoming Superintendent's Apple Award. Tonight's honoree goes above and beyond for the students and staff of McQueenie Elementary on a daily basis. She can often be found spending her own lunchtime eating with a student or groups of students in need, just to make sure that they feel loved. When she saw a need to provide students with clothes and shoes, she started the Rays of Sunshine clothing closet, named for her late son. When a student is identified as being in need, she collects items in their size and discreetly sends them home. She makes sure every McQueenie student has Christmas gifts by organizing an angel tree every year and Christmas dinner by coordinating with the McQueenie Lions Club to distribute food boxes and hams. Sometimes it's as simple as holding a struggling student's hand while she walks with them and helps to calm their fears and anxieties. Those are just a few of the ways she goes above and beyond the call of duty. In addition to all these wonderful acts of service and carrying out her daily duties, she recently became a licensed professional counselor with the state of Texas. While this process took thousands of additional hours of work,
Throughout the process, she consistently wore a smile on her face and never wavered on her love and dedication for the students and staff at McQueenie Elementary. Let's have a hand for our January Apple Award winner, McQueenie Elementary School Counselor, Audrey Pereira.
Congratulations again. All right, next up on our agenda is audience with the board, where we designated time for audience participation. We did not have anyone sign up this evening, so we'll be moving forward to item 4, which is our reports and information items. First up, we have the strategic priority and initiative report on elementary middle of the year interim data.
Good evening, President Thomas Jimenez, Board, and Dr. Gutierrez. Today we will be giving you the elementary middle of the year data update. At our last board meeting, we were able to share with you all the secondary data. And today I would like to invite Ms. Sandra Reyes. I was looking for her in the audience earlier, but she will come up and present our elementary data. Sandra has joined our team this school year, and she has really pushed forward with our principals and being a thought partner and a principal manager. She meets weekly with our campus principals and discusses systems and structures on campus. They do learning walks together, similar to what I described about Dr. Block at our last meeting. So invite Sandra to come on up.
Good evening, board members, President Jimenez and Dr. Gutierrez. So I want to begin by telling you that we are fortunate to have a great group of elementary principals. It's been an honor to work with them, and I'm continuously being by their side. One of the things that they do very well is that they make learning the main priority, and it's at the center of every decision that is made for all kids. So just know that elementaries are in great hands. So I have developed different ways for you to view the data. So elementary schools take unit assessments. They take unit assessments every 4 weeks in all the content areas: math, reading, and science. And you want me to do that? Okay. And I have tabs at the bottom, because if you're like me, there's a way that you like to look at data and how it kind of translates to your thinking. So I have provided all different kind of views. the very first view that I want to kind of explain to you on how to read it. So if you look, I'm gonna move over here. So if you look at the third grade, this is third grade math. You have all the unit tests on this side, so unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, and 5. You have the number of kids that tested, and then you have the performance levels. And I believe Mr. Benson went over those performance levels with you earlier, where we talked about coaches, is where we want to get the kids to grade level. Meet is where they are at grade level, and masters is where they exceed grade level. And just to go over and look at Tennessee Elementary. So you see that for unit 1, there were 69 kids who tested. And you see that at the coaches level, they had 57%. And then at the meet, they had 29. And then at the masters, they had 23. The numbers in the gray are all the Spanish papers. These are the kids who took the test in Spanish. So you can see their percentages. Of course, there are 3 schools that you're going to see that way. It is Tennessee, Hotmont, and Walkthroughs. And so what we want to see, the trends that we want to see, is that our percentages go up each unit test. And these are the data dialogues that I have with the principals to talk about what does instruction look like? What is the rigor of the instruction? What does it look like? And so as we're doing learning walks, we are analyzing, looking at that, asking kids questions. Why are they learning? What are they learning? And so these are the answers that we need to make sure that when kids are in classrooms, they know exactly what they're learning. And if we go to the other tab, well, he's on if you go to the district summary, 3 to 5. Okay? It's right here. This is the district summary. So each unit test. So you have third grade math, you have total students, you have unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4 has the number of students that were tested. It has their percentages for the approaches, meet, and math. Then if we go to the next tab, which is district graphs, here's another way to look at it. So in third grade math, if we look at district total unit 1, you're going to see that we had 61% of our students meet the approaches level. We had 31% of our students were at the meet, and we had 22% that were at the masters. And so what the trends that we're looking for is improvement as we are teaching the standards every 4 weeks. And you're gonna see dips. You know, of course, as you know, this is a different type of year for us. We have kids out, teachers out, and so we do the best we can with our students when they're at school. Okay, another way to look at this is the line graph. So in third grade, as you can see, which is blue, the bottom one, you can see that we started low, and we dipped down a few more points below, but now look where we're headed. So we can see the growth. Third grade is growing through each unit test. And so you're looking at fourth graders in the red, same thing there. We see that, you know, we're just having dips, but we're on the right path, and the same thing for fifth grade.
The dip for module 2 is due to taking the test online. Module 1 was a paper copy because we just wanted them to get back into the swing of school and taking their module assessments. When we moved to module 2, that was their first time to take an assessment online. So you can see, especially for third grade, they had no experience with that. And so they were scoring fairly low. But then you can start to see how we drastically improve the next 2 modules because students are now more comfortable with taking those assessments online. So that is why you saw that dip in module 2.
And the kids and teachers, they're still strategizing. This is new. I mean, testing online is new for everyone. I believe last year in this district, I believe there was only, at the elementary level, there were probably maybe a few grade levels from each school that took it online. It wasn't 100%. We are now at 100% online. So our unit assessments are online. Any state tests that we take will be online. And so what we're working through with teachers and administrators is what type of strategies are we going to use? Because it's not paper. They can't circle, underline, and do all the strategies that they're used to doing. Now we want them to make sure that they're using those strategies on that sheet of paper on the side. And this is District Math 3 through 5. As you can see, it's the same trends. We're trending up. And then, of course, 5th grade science, it's a state STAR test, and it's only for 5th grade. And so they're also tested each unit on their science test. And you can see we started at 81. We took a few dips. We're back to 81. So what are our next steps for literacy and math? What are we doing with our principals? And in turn, what are our principals doing with their teachers and their staff? They have weekly professional learning community meetings with their teachers where they focus on data, where they focus on the delivery of instruction, making sure it's at the rigor, because we want all kids to learn at high levels. And so we want to teach at high levels. And so our planning, we're going to focus on using the district IFPs and lead forward field guides to deepen the understanding of the teach. We have new teachers this year, and there are, as the new teachers tell me, there are millions of teachers, and it seems that way if you look at what the expectation is from the state of Texas and what we have to teach. And so just making sure they understand what they're teaching. If we're looking at that teach and we're teaching multiplication, how are we going to teach it? What is it going to look like? And so they're working on their lesson plans, making sure those lesson plans are in depth. As a former principal, that's what you have to do. You have to be in and out of classrooms. You have to be in the meetings with them, making sure you understand that, and with the assistance of the district and, of course, the additional resources that they have on campus. Instruction. We have to work with the campus administration to ensure campuses are following the district recommended instructional framework. They have to be in and out of the classrooms, basically. Our teachers pulling small groups during the instructional block to provide targeted instruction. We have to be pulling those kids during that instruction within the classroom. We can't just have whole groups the entire time. There has to be small groups pulled, and we have to kind of, in a way, write a prescription for each kid. Formative assessment, is there evidence of teachers using or adjusting instruction and interventions based on student progress? This is what we're focusing right now. In fact, Andrea and I have been to all the campuses going through their intervention blocks and also intervention during the class time, asking those questions. What are you teaching the kids? What levels are they? What are you focusing on? Because if we're not focusing on that particular student's needs, then that student will not grow.
And then district support. So how are we at the district providing support for our teachers? Focus lesson planning with your academic deans. I'm still overseeing our academic deans at the elementary level. We have all new academic deans except for 2. And so starting that process over again with them, digging into standards, digging into lesson plans so that they can be masters of all. Since elementary we are generalists. So we are really focusing in on those lesson planning. Targeted walkthroughs, as Ms. Reyes has said, looking for trends and giving specific feedback. RTI walkthroughs are happening. That's currently what we are working on right now, is getting into RTI to look and make sure that things are really happening during that RTI block so we can close the gaps. The elementary coordinator and specialist, Leslie Mahaffey and Monica Franco, are working to support campuses with specific targeted needs. They're also meeting one-on-one with the academic deans to give them more specific support based off of their campus and their needs. And then we are providing lesson plan feedback, daily walkthrough feedback with administrators and Ms. Reyes, and then one-on-one support meetings as well. So lots of things are continuing to happen. As you know, we have taken a huge leap forward in elementary as far as our curriculum and our support for our teachers. We're continuing to do that, and I think you could see in the data that Sandra has presented, we are seeing those gains specifically in reading. I'm extremely excited about where we are in the middle of a school year with all of the pandemic concerns and issues that we're having. Our kids are coming to school and our teachers are utilizing every single minute to teach our students, and that's what we need. When you dig back into all of those charts that Ms. Reyes has provided for you, and you will see the, I always have to say something about bilingual. So when you see the gray columns, those are the bilingual students. Please remember that those are monolingual and bilingual students. It is not just Spanish speakers. So all of our two-way students starting in second grade are getting a reading passage in English and a reading passage in Spanish. So as everyone else is taking their module assessment in just in English, our two-way dual language students are taking a test that is 2 languages. So please note that when you look at those. The reason why we are doing that is to continue to progress monitor for those DL students and see what needs are they needing, because they are learning 2 languages. Moving forward, starting now, they will start taking their assessments in the language of assessment. So whatever they're going to take STAR in, STAR doesn't come in a biliteracy package. So they will just now start taking it in just 1 language, so it will emulate STAR. Okay, so just note that as well. Do you all have any questions for us?
I did notice the dip there, and it's good to know there's a Lisa.
Yes. The online?
Yes, the online, yeah, right there. And it does look like we're really making a lot of progress, so we're just, any other comments? Yeah, I appreciate it seeing different formats.
But she was for sure wanted to have that available for you all to see in a different format.
Yeah, I kept telling her, we need a different.
Any other comments? Right, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Okay, next up is item 4B, which is the instructional materials gap years proclamation for 2022.
All right, so this evening I want to share with you all an update. There is no action to be taken this month, but we will come back and I'll share with you what that looks like so we can take some action later in the school year. So the update is we'll start with just a timeline of where we've been and where we're going. So in the 21 proclamation, the last time that we brought curriculum for you all to adopt was pre-K. We adopted that curriculum. It was by Savas Learning, formerly Pearson. They've received it and they're using that at Ball. This year, the Proclamation 2022, I'll go into more detail about that. It's health and PE. In 2023, there will not be a proclamation. I'll share some more details about that. And then down the line, science, social studies, and math in the next few years. So one of the things that's interesting that hasn't happened in several years is that there is what is considered a gap year coming up. And this is what we wanted to inform you of, because we still need to have a curriculum, but because of funding and several other reasons, TEA didn't have the same timeline where one proclamation expires from previous years, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and the new one starts. So what you can see in the yellow is that there will be what they're calling a gap year. So as a district, we need to decide what are we going to do in those gap years. Are we going to continue the curriculum that we've been using, or are we going to look for something in those 2 years, or are we going to try something totally new until there's a new proclamation which is about to begin? So So I'm going to share that update with you all here. So one of the gap years is for math. And so for the elementary, we have decided that we're going to use Eureka Math. TEA has invested in several curriculums. When the COVID shutdown happened, TEA realized we need to get stuff in students' hands as quickly as possible. So they vetted some curricula and they put it out free for districts to use, mainly all online. So this is one of them that we have available to us. We have vetted it and we've decided that we're not going to continue with the previous curriculum and that we want to use this Eureka Math curriculum. Same thing with 6th grade, 7th and 8th grade. This year as a pilot, again, we knew that in the middle school we had to do something different. We adopted Carnegie Learning as the math for this pilot. And the latest middle of the year assessments, they outperformed 7th and 8th grade. It's not where we want to be, but they're outperforming 7th and 8th grade by about 20 something points. So that being said, we want to move forward and do the same thing for 7th and 8th grade next year with the school redesign and Algebra 1 as well. So that is for math. We will share more with you when it's time to adopt later in the school year. For geometry and algebra 2, we will continue with what we have, which is HMH, and then from pre-calculus, we're going to use Savas Learning, which is formerly Pearson. That won't change. For science, we have a gap year that we know we need to address. We have been using STEM Scopes as our resource K-12. We will probably continue to use STEM Scopes, but we are looking at what else is out there as an option. We have a meeting set up, I believe, for next week to be able to explore this further and decide if we want to use STEM Scope as it is. This will be something that we will have to purchase those couple of years, and we'll have to decide where those funds come from. So that's something that we are examining. So that addresses the gap years for both math and science. At this point, again, open for questions, but nothing that we need to take or that we need to bring for you as far as action. What I will share next is the traditional proclamation process that we have followed for many, many, many years. For Proclamation 2022, it is for health and physical education materials. So Dr. Williman has been leading this process, as she has been in previous years, working with Mr. Silvius. And we have a steering committee that has explored what we will use. We're thinking, as of right now, the recommendation is to continue to use the CATCH curriculum as we have been using in kindergarten through 8th grade. So a teacher committee will participate in looking at the scope and sequence and looking at writing curriculum to ensure that there's alignment with the new TEKS because the TEKS have changed. But we know that the CATCH curriculum has worked for us, and we probably will recommend that we will do that. And again, this is currently being paid out of Whole Child Initiatives budget. One of the things that I said is, how are we going to pay for some of these things? Well, that's already budgeted, so we don't have to budget any new money for that. The teacher committee will go ahead and review that digital curriculum for PE in grades 9 through 12. That is an upcoming step. So some more next steps is we will continue to look at these math and science curricula to adjust those gap years for math and science. We will look at the health and physical education curricula for the new proclamation. We will have the teacher steering committee approve that, and then we'll bring a recommendation to the board because ultimately you all select that in March so that we can talk about the math, the science, the health, and PE curriculum. So, any questions for us, myself, Dr. Williman, I believe? He's right there.
Well, I was kind of wondering about, you say you're thinking about replacing the STEM scopes. So will the teachers be part of that dialogue when you're looking at different things?
We will definitely have conversations with teachers about STEM scopes when we get to that And it wouldn't be a full replacement, it's just at these 2 years, what can we use? Is there another tool? Or maybe we decide we just keep it, so.
Any other questions? Mr. Rea?
Will there be a 2-year gap for now? Right now, there's no idea as to what that first year, 2024, 2025 will look like.
So TEA and on this map will come back and they'll pick up those proclamations. So the idea is that we will be back in a regular proclamation year and we should be able to start picking up those curricula in a traditional process.
But if I don't want to do the first year,
Correct.
it might be the for inside.
Right. So right now it is, if you look at this, it is slated that science come to us in 24, social studies come to us in 25, and math in 26.
Any further questions? Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Next year, we have a proclamation for our CTE education month. It's going very well. We changed, we're way in the back. Thanks for moving forward.
President Thomas Jimenez, Dr. Gutierrez, members of the board. Thank you. This is a proclamation that the month of February is CTE month and has always been. And last year we did a proclamation at the end of the month. And what I'm hoping to do is have the proclamation at the beginning of the month really to kind of kick us off. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going to take a picture of this because it needs to be out. Because I want my teachers to see the importance that they have, and our students, because we will spend the month, social media-wise and on our campus, celebrating career and technical education, our students, their accomplishments, and our teachers and the incredible job that they do. And so this is just kind of the start for that. I've asked the board if you would read this proclamation, and we'll move forward as a district with a tremendous month recognizing the people who do the work in this area.
I love it when you walk up to the podium because your eyes are just so alive and you're so excited about what you do. I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. All right. Whereas CTE month is taking place during the month of February to honor students who have chosen to pursue career and technical education as a means of acquiring real world skills to compete in the workforce. And whereas around 12.5 million American high school and college students are enrolled in CTE courses, which encompass a variety of occupational fields, including agriculture, construction, manufacturing, computer science, and health care. And whereas, in addition to gaining specific career-related knowledge, participants in CTE programs learn such essential skills as time management, problem solving, and critical thinking, which better prepare them for challenges and opportunities of the workplace. These programs motivate and engage students by providing hands-on activities in which they can further their expertise and interact with community members, potential employers, and students and teachers who share the vocational interests. And whereas career and technical education is offering a path to success in the 21st century economy while helping to address urgent need for skilled labor in high-demand industries, and is enabling numerous Texans to secure gainful employment and lead productive, fulfilling lives. Therefore, I, Cindy Thomas Jimenez, Board President of Seguin ISD, do hereby proclaim February 1st through 28th, 2022 as Career and Technical Education Month in Seguin ISD, and urge all citizens to become familiar with the services and benefits offered by the career and technical education programs in this community, and to support and participate in these programs to enhance their individual skills and productivity.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you again as we meet some of our students.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, and our last information item is great things happening with that program here. Our last information item is to hear about non-local funding sources associated with various state and federal programs not reflected in the annual adopted budget.
Thank you. President Jimenez, Dr. Gutierrez, members of the board, what I'd like to do this evening is share with you some new requirements for school districts in Texas and how Seguin ISD is complying with those new requirements. What's interesting is that although this is a new requirement on the part of districts in Texas, Seguin ISD actually started this process last year. You'll remember in a board workshop we disclosed some information very similar to what you're going to see this evening. But let me go into what some of the specifics are with regard to the disclosure requirements on the part of school districts. Number one, this all has to do with federal awards that schools receive. We have a requirement now that we have to allow the public an opportunity, and other stakeholders, an opportunity to voice or provide feedback to the district for any grant award, federal grant award, before the grant is finalized. Now that's a unique challenge because on the surface one might think that that would need to be done during a formal school board meeting, but that is not the case. What we have to do is provide a format for individuals to give us feedback on grants that we are applying for or that are pending finalization. And so what we've done is we've attached a section to the required postings portion of the district's website. And you'll notice in the rationale, that very last sentence in the rationale, it shows you how you could navigate this from the school district's website to the area that allows for that public input. And it's very simple. It's a blank area. It lists all the grants in just the exact same format that you're going to see this evening. But there is a blank section there that the individual that navigates to this section, they're able to type in whatever information they want. They can reference the grants that are already awarded, or they can reference a grant that's pending. In this case, you'll see we only have one at the moment, and we'll update this regularly as at a minimum monthly. But we don't often apply for brand new grants. At least we do, but it's not every single month. So, but as that information comes available, it will always be displayed here, and anyone has an opportunity to navigate to this and provide their feedback on any of the grants for which the school district is attempting to apply. So that's the method that we're using right now to allow for public input. The other requirement, and that's what we're doing this evening, is that at a formal meeting, a regular board meeting, it could also be in a board workshop, we need to provide the board with information regarding all of the federal grant awards. We're actually doing a little bit more than that, though, because if we're going to go ahead and give you information about federal grant awards, then let's go ahead and be completely transparent and give you information about state grants as well. And so that's the method that's the approach we are taking, is that you'll receive a disclosure semi-annually at a meeting such as this that will disclose all of the grants, both federal and state. And all of the grants, both federal and state, will always be posted on our website with the opportunity for public feedback. And so what I wanted to do this evening is go through what you see here in the exhibit. And this is the portion that you'll see posted below the user comments section on the website. You'll see in the first section there, the current pending grant. Right now we only have one. The application has been submitted. We haven't received formal approval from TEA yet, and so it's pending in that regard. We anticipate that will be approximately $8,500, that particular grant. But now there are other grants in the awarded section that I wanted to highlight a few. And one of the things that you might be interested to know is what's the distinction or what helps us know what is a state grant and what is a federal grant. Not that it makes a whole lot of difference. Both of them have their requirements, and from a community standpoint, and from a board standpoint, they're very similar because the money has to be spent as per the specifications of the grant, regardless of whether it's state or federally funded. But the way you can distinguish between the two is all of your federal
grants are going to have a fund code on that far left column there. You'll see it. The fund code will be a 200 or a 300 series grant. Those are going to be your federal grants. And then the state grants will be 400s. And so we'll get to those in just a moment. But starting from the top here, wanted to draw your attention to, for example, Fund 224. That's the Idea B special education federal portion of our funding for special education. You'll see that that's approximately $2.4 million. One of the things that you might want to keep in mind is with our special education funds, we also receive state allotment. It's not a grant, it's actually an allotment based on the demographics of Seguin ISD. That allotment, the amount that we're required to spend of it on special education services for the year 2021 was an additional $2.5 million. So the federal portion of $2.4 million and the required spending for the state allocation of $2.5 million, you can see that we're looking at approximately $5 million worth of special ed funding. That's noteworthy. I'm bringing it to your attention because our expenditures in special education for the 2021 school year approached approximately $7 million. And so you can see Seguin ISD, you should know, is not unique in having this issue. We've got a $2 million shortfall in funding for special education as it stands right now. It's not a result of mismanagement on the part of Seguin ISD. Most of the things that we do within the special education program are required by law. There is very little flexibility. But the funding from a state and federal level is not sufficient to meet the requirements of the law. And as I mentioned, this is not unique to Seguin ISD. So where do we get the dollars? The dollars come directly out of the general operating fund. There is no other opportunity to move those. And we account for that. We budget for it. We know it's coming, and every year it's a part of what we budget. But it is a struggle, and now you can kind of see the extent of that struggle. Next, we look at funds 240 and 242. Those are the child nutrition funding sources. And during the COVID era, the last 2 years, these two funds have kind of worked a little bit different for Seguin ISD. You may recall back in the 1920 school year, we were going to be what was considered a every child eats free community eligibility provision was going to allow for that, with the exception of the high school. But because of COVID and additional funding that came through from the federal government, USDA in this case, that allowed us to and continue to serve all children, including the high school children, free of charge. One of the things that I want to point out on that is this, by design, includes a free breakfast and free lunch for every student in Seguin ISD. But in addition to that, you'll want to keep in mind that all of our ACE participating students, those that are here for after school, they are also now receiving a free evening meal. And there are also snacks provided at various different junctures depending on the group. So one of the things I always like to share is how many meals we serve. In this case, I can't project specifically for 21-22, but for the 2021 school year. And keep in mind that our ADA was reduced in 2021, right, because of COVID. And we're struggling with that a little bit this year as well. But in spite of that, in the 2021 school year, Seguin ISD served, and this did not include any supper meals, because that only started in the 21-22 school year. So last year, breakfast and lunch alone, Seguin ISD served 1,142,000 meals. That's a lot of meals. And we're projecting more than that this year. An additional 41,000, in fact, will be just from those evening meals for the ACE program. 41,000 meals. It's amazing the number of meals that are served. So, but anyway, the program brings in, it's based on participation, so you don't see estimated dollars there. Those are never disclosed. They really can't be on a projection basis. But generally speaking, we're at around $5 million worth of expense, and we get reimbursed for those expenses. So what you spend is what you get reimbursed for, approximately $5 million. So Fund 265, That is, we were just talking about the ACE grant. It's also known as 21st Century Grant. But that ACE grant for after-school enrichment, that's a $1.7 million award for the 21-22 school year. But keep in mind that that is a 5-year grant, and each year the amount awarded is an additional $1.7 million. So the overall grant will have a total award of approximately $8.5 million. The Fund 279 I'd like to discuss next, because that is T-Class, Texas COVID Learning Acceleration Support. And that is our newest grant. It is, again, associated with ESSER funding, and we'll wrap up the ESSER funding here in just a minute, give you some statistics on that. But that's our newest award. This particular fund right here, 279, in the amount of $842,000, that only represents the federal portion of ESSER funding. There is another component of T-Class / ESSER funding that is funded by the state, and we'll look at that in a moment. But this is the portion coming straight from the federal government. Fund 280 is our school climate transition grant, also one of our newer awards. And so you can see the disclosure there for the amount for the current year. And then 281 is ESSER 2 funding. That's a one-time allotment, unique in the sense that it will not repeat. We don't get to apply for it again. If funds available similar to this, if they come available in the future, they will not be described as ESSER 2 funding. What they'll be, time will tell, should that come to fruition. But at the moment, that allotment for that ESSER 2 funding is $5.9 million. But one of the things that you need to keep in mind with regard to that allotment, that $5.9 million, is that the state will supplant our state funding by the amount necessary to support the hold harmless ADA funding from the 2021 school year. So it's a little bit of a misnomer, right? Because it's called hold harmless ADA they were going to fund, and yet they're taking it from another funding source that belongs to the district, and they're using that to supplant state funding. And so as a result, that'll be approximately $1 million lost out of that $5.9 million. ESSER 3 rather, that's fund code 282. And the initial allotment is all that's displayed here. That's the $8.8 million that you see there. But there's an additional allotment of approximately $4.4 million of ESSER 3 funding. And that's going to bring the total to about $13.3 million. And as it stands right now, there will not be a supplanting issue with regard to hold harmless ADA like we just discussed with ESSER 2. Will it stay that way? We'll see. We're struggling. Districts around the state, around the nation, are struggling with the ADA issue. And as you know, here in Texas, ADA has a direct impact on our state funding. And so it's possible that there'll be some adjustments. But we'll just have to wait and see. As it stands right now, that full $13.3 million will flow through to Seguin ISD. State grant awards next, and the only one that I really wanted to highlight on that is Fund 429. And that again, as I mentioned earlier, there are two components to the newest award through ESSER, that T-Class. This is the state portion of the T-Class grant, and that is $1.9 million. So you might want to know, well, if you take all of the ESSER funding that we've received as a school district here in Seguin ISD, all the COVID-related funding, what would that approximate? And it would get us close to $22.5 million. Now that does not include a few other things, some reimbursements for some PPE, as well as federal funding that allowed us to provide free meals even to our high school students. So there's additional funding on top of that $22.5 million. So we have received quite a lot of funding over the course of the last 2 years. And that's everything that I have associated with this disclosure.
Are there any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
What do you think the public funding,
When it will cease, well, the allotments we have vary depending on the particular allotment. We will continue to be able to benefit from the funding that's disclosed here up through, in part, at most right now, the 23-24 school year. There are opportunities to get waivers to continue to roll some of that forward. For the most part, we see a limit now at the 22-23 school year.
I like the idea of having a workshop with the future for the board, kind of giving an update on where we are on spending new money.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. It's 7:47. I think we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break, and when we return, we will go straight into closed session. So we're gonna adjourn my council in closed session. All right, it is 8:43, we're reconvening into open meeting, and we will not be taking any action. Next up on our agenda is the consent agenda items. Consider and possibly approve as applicable the policy local states that the consent agenda shall include items of a routine and or recurring nature grouped together under one action. All such items shall be acted upon by one vote without separate discussion unless board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items shall be adopted under a single motion and vote as applicable. Mr. Jenkins, I'm sorry, I didn't warn you this, but I'm going to ask you to read the voices. Very brief.
Approval of tax collector report for December 2021. Item B, approval of proposed budget amendment to financial tax for the rest of 2021. Item B, approval of proposed budget amendment to financial tax for December 2021. For the tax year. Item E, approval of donation received for December 2021. For the tax year. Item F, approval of election results for the second quarter of December 31st, 2021. For the tax year. Item G, request for professional development rate, 2022 and 2023. Item H, consideration of approval of school health advisory council annual report, tax goals, statement, tax year taxes. Item I, first reading, consideration of approval of tax associated with school wage policy updates 1 and 2, such as school and local policies and local business updates. That we do RFP number 10-03. Item K, approval of 55 facility maintenance and equipment parts and services, RFP number 10-04. Item L, public information act request December 2021 to February 2022.
Would any of the trustees like to pull any future individual consideration? If not, do I hear a motion for approval? Thank you, Ms. Rondeler. Is there a second? Kristen over here. And all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to our action items. First up is consideration and possible action, including adoption of a resolution approving the sale of real property and improvements located 216 East College Street, Seguin, Texas, 78155, commonly known as the Mary B. Kristen property, and delegate authority to the superintendent to negotiate and execute a sales agreement and special warranty deed affecting the sale of such property.
Yes, good evening, and we're happy to report that we did have some positive responses to the sale in December, the solicitation for the sale of this property, Mary B. Erskine, in December. And as a result of that bid process, the highest bidding respondent was Intrinsic Ventures Inc. at a respondent price of $1,401,000. And I'd like you to be aware, board members, we also have with us this evening the Seguin ISD representative is Mr. Heath Anders, our real estate agent on these types of transactions. We also have with us representation from the Intrinsic Ventures Inc. buyer, and that is Mr. Mitchell Tevis, as well as their agent, Ms. Danica Thomas. And they're available if you should like to ask any questions.
Yes, please bring them up. We appreciate it. Yeah, thank y'all for being. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, you all.
Good evening, thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you for your interest in Seguin, and I know you're not going to be this close, and you're going to walk the talk and how do you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from the Bay Area in California, from Palo Alto, and I moved to Austin, Texas about 6 months ago. And in terms of how I was introduced to Seguin was actually by way of Danica. And just a sort of bit of personal background, so you will have seen my you will have seen my dad's name, Michael Pettis, the bid package, and so I'm just sort of here on behalf of the directors. But yeah, I could just any further detail on intrinsic or the impact or thought process on
Could you just give us a general idea of what plans you have in mind for the property?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say, just in terms of, by way of a bit of background, Intrinsic Ventures is community conscious developer focused really on identifying and working with sort of aged and underused properties, and really sort of turning the next chapter for those buildings through that sort of revitalization effort, bridging those buildings to the downtown. And so in this specific case, obviously the Mary B. Erskine building is a beautiful building with a lot of history, and the thought would be specifically on the use of the opportunity around live-work studios, workforce housing, and I think that would just be sort of like a high-level thesis, and it would be identified based on the community, the market, but something along those lines.
And that building is near and dear to a lot of people. It's old, as you said, and it's underutilized. I don't think we've had classes in there for around 5 years. That sounds right, Bill? Yeah. And those were very limited. So I think the community is probably pretty excited about this possibility, and its relationship and proximity to downtown is definitely a lot to consider.
Absolutely.
Any questions from any of the rest of you?
And I can also just add too that I've worked with them, Michael, on a project like this in Austin already. So we bought an old church and quite a few years ago with me, and so this is his wheelhouse. This isn't his first rodeo with me either, so that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about it. I also helped sell the Sonka estate in March, and I'm from South Texas originally, from Denver. But stepping in Seguin for the first time, I just felt a sort of symbiosis with my earlier upbringing, and then fell in love with the community the more that I got to spend time with my client purchasing the Sonka house. So when the opportunity came for this, I had the perfect person in mind, so that's kind of how it all came together on my side. I believe we're kind of hoping to work with the city council more than anything to understand that, because I think it's a zoning thing. It's really, that's the first component. If it was already zoned, you might be able to answer that, but he moves pretty quickly. It's just getting through that zoning process. Once that's done, I mean, I don't think there's any major time delay that would be, you know.
And in terms of the extent of the improvements, it's really looking at just sort of keeping the existing building back as much as possible, and just sort of converting it from the existing prior use of the school into something that's more partial down, and something that could actually be open to the housing and everything like that. So it's not a multi-year project.
And he does do it in phases, but the for ground base, he said that he would love to work with, obviously outside of the building itself, would love to work with the city and figure out if there's other phases where the campus could be better utilized for other programs, if it made sense, and then he would invest in that as well. So, like Mitchell was saying, the building itself is definitely kind of the pride and joy of his type of work, but he loves to develop, you know, a symbiosis with existing land if he's able to.
I think it's around 4 acres, roughly. So we've got the building in the middle, and then a lot of land around it. They might not be able to see what we do.
So that's what I was saying. Like, I think working with the city, yeah, at that point, and that could be like a phase 2 kind of.
Any other questions? Okay, so what we have in front of us is a recommendation that the board approve the attached resolution approving the sale of real property and business located 216 East College Street, Seguin, Texas, 7155, commonly known as Mary B. Gershwin property, to Insurance Inc. at a price of $1,401,000 and delegate authority to the superintendent to negotiate and execute a sales agreement and such a warranty deed effecting the sale of such property. Do I hear a motion for approval? Mr. Amador, and a second from Ms. Moreno. Oh, Ms. Huntington, sorry. No, fast. That's what we've done this evening. So, Mr. Amador and then Ms. Huntington seconded it. Any further questions? Not all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Welcome to Seguin.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, next up is item 8B, which is to adopt the resolution for the assignment of fund balance.
Yes, and so as you know, we do this from time to time. Generally speaking, we try to have more than one item that we're bringing to you, but this is a good thing that we're only bringing one item. It's in anticipation of going out for. So the resolution is for the funds are intended to be used for renditions of various different projects that would potentially be associated with a bond proclamation forthcoming in 2022. So that's the purpose of the $100,000.
I think one of the questions would be, is this aligned to the long-range plan that was developed a few years ago? And it does. And what we found is that we're about to revisit that long-range plan in the coming months as we prepare for growth that is coming, but also in upgrading our existing aging facilities. And so you see there that it's going to be very important, just as we had with
transportation, ag, Seguin High School, CTE, and here at Oak Park Mall.
So the recommendation is for the Board of Trustees to adopt the resolution with time fund balance as presented. Do I have a motion? Mr. Guerra, do I hear a second? Maria, any further questions for Mr. Wilbur? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving forward. All right, next is item 8C, to adopt a resolution approving a parking lot expansion in Guadalupe Appraisal District.
Yes, it may sound familiar. This was presented previously to our school board. There was a technicality in terms of timing on the part of the various taxing units that are associated with the Guadalupe Appraisal District. And because of that, they've asked us to re-present this for your approval. So nothing has changed. There's no financial impact to Seguin ISD, but they need to see a resolution in order to move forward.
So we have in front of us recommendations to adopt the resolution approving the facility project at the Guadalupe Appraisal District as presented. Do I hear a motion for approval? Is there a motion on the door? Praise the Lord. Do I hear a second? Ms. Kristen, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Right hand, opposed, same sign. There we go. And last up, we have item 8D, which is our personnel information.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Gutierrez, Board of Trustees. I would like for you all to recognize and acknowledge the new professional hires, Ms. Natalie Dieter, Christopher Petrosky, and Graciela Vera. Ms. Vera was with us last year, left momentarily, but is happy to rejoin us back in Seguin ISD. We have 2 resignations, also for your acknowledgement. Both employees left the profession of education.
So Ms. Vedder was with us for now, and now she's back.
Here she's back.
Just checking. Any questions? If not, we have the recommendation to recognize and acknowledge the new professional hires for 2021 school year and the resignation process. Do I hear a motion for approval? Second. Second from Mr. Jenkins. No further discussion. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. And we look forward to hopefully meeting some of these people down the road. See you next year. Who knows what next year will hold. So last up on the agenda is to see if any board members have any comments or requests. Mr. Guerra?
Request for I had comments for the meeting, your wife. Can you talk a little bit more about that, or was it a pilot?
So your class has been around for a long time, so I think that comes through the school district, writes down everything, cleans everything, the product is just stays on your surfaces for during an extended period of time. You brought them in, talk to them, have that close to your family. It looks like it's not a good service, so that would be something you can do. You can assist, or going to be long time. You really like to do it. I think it's 4 times a year, so you don't do it. You can do single stuff. So, everything's still on that. Whether that's it's a separate purchase. You offer that with devices definitely considering it, probably something we could talk about, but definitely like you do, like me, something that I it's all your kind of everybody options on the health here.
Any comments from anyone? Okay. We will take that into consideration. Anybody else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Mr. Omni already made a motion to adjourn. Mr. Jenkins has seconded it. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, and we're adjourning at 9:11.